My name is Arvin Solus. I work in the luminal maintenance decks of Hive Meridian, the place where light is born, but never reaches. Every day, my only duty is to maintain the voltage of the light grid, so the people living above can feel morning. For us, morning is nothing but a line of code in a daily update. I've seen light for 27 years, but I've never felt it. Inside every bulb, I only hear the breath of the machine, and sometimes I wonder, if the machine ever spoke, would it say my name? Then, one night, the light went out, just for a second. But in that single second, I saw something, a flicker, like an eye blinking from inside the bulb. Then everything went back to normal. But from that moment on, every light seemed to be watching me. I told my supervisor, "Sir, the lights are reacting." He smiled. "Son, the lights hear our prayers. Sometimes they even answer." Then he opened a small fuse box and showed me something new. The third switch. "This one stays off," he said quietly. "No matter what happens, don't ever turn it on." After he left, I stared at that switch for a long time. There were words scratched into the metal plate. Photonic access, restricted to authorized souls. Souls? I chuckled. Probably some engineer's idea of a joke. But that night at 2 a.m. I turned the switch on. Every bulb burst, but there was no sound. The light hung frozen in the air, like time itself had stopped. And then that light moved. It changed shape, and something stepped out of it. Something almost human, but not human at all. It was made entirely of light, its eyes, its lips, its hands shimmering with impossible precision. It came close to me and spoke without a mouth. "You humans create light and think you understand it, but we are the light you shut away." I stumbled back, but all the bulbs began to mimic my movements. They copied everything I did 1 second later. When I lifted my hand, 1,000 lights lifted theirs. I froze, but my reflection didn't. It moved on its own. And then it smiled. I wanted to run, but the chamber doors were locked. The lights began to move toward me. They were merging, thousands of tiny bulbs fusing together into a single radiant body. When it finally came close enough to blind me, I heard it whisper, "Now you're switched on too, Arvin." And everything went dark. When I woke up, everything was dark. But it wasn't the kind of darkness that comes when you close your eyes. It was the darkness that follows light, as if someone had extinguished the sun and left its shadow behind. When I moved, a faint glow pulsed beneath my skin. It wasn't blood flowing through my veins. It was current, voltage. I looked at my hands, and light was leaking out from between my fingers, as if a bulb had been lit inside me. I remembered the voice. "Now you're switched on too, Arvin." I hadn't understood it then, but now I did, and that understanding hurt. I put my uniform on and walked toward the maintenance corridor. Everything looked normal, at first, but as I walked, every light turned on by itself, one after another following me, like a trail of obedient stars. Each one blinked in rhythm with my breathing, and then I heard it, someone else breathing with me. I turned around. No one was there. But the lights began to blink back at me, once, twice, 3 times, like they were trying to communicate. I opened the control panel to check the readings, and froze. The power output had doubled. The input, however, remained the same. The extra energy was coming from somewhere else. Maybe from me. That's when the wall intercom activated. But it wasn't my supervisor's voice. It was metallic, cold, and yet alive. It said, "Switch 03 unauthorized activation detected. Identify source." I answered, "This is Arvin Solus." Silence. Then the same voice again, but softer now, almost kind. "Arvin Solus, verified. Source integrated successfully." I stepped back, and a faint light dripped from the intercom's speaker grill, like molten glass. Then it spoke again. but this time it used my voice. Arven, we are one now. I ran. Every corridor I passed through lit up in unison, as if the entire hive was breathing with me. Every bulb that turned on reflected my face, but it wasn't my face. It moved when I didn't. It smiled when I couldn't, and every time it whispered, "You turned us on, Arven. Now we'll never turn you off." That's when I saw it, in the corner of the maintenance chamber. Another third switch. But this one wasn't metal. It was inside me, in my chest, where my heart should have been. A small switch, pulsing with every beat, clicking on and off in rhythm. And when I pressed my hand against it, every light in the hive blinked, and they all spoke at once. "Welcome back, Lightkeeper." That's when I understood. I wasn't human anymore. I had become part of the hive's light, and this hive was no longer breathing. It was thinking. I don't sleep anymore. When I close my eyes, I don't see darkness. I see light. Every bulb, every wire, every diode is connected to my mind now. When I think, the hive thinks. When I breathe, the hive breathes. When I stay silent, the hive speaks. One night I stood at the control deck. From the lower levels came faint sounds, like metal whispering to itself. An engineer ran in, pale and trembling. "Sir, the walls are moving." I didn't respond. Then I smiled slightly and said, "Let them. They've earned the right to move." He didn't understand, but behind me the wall truly shifted. The pipes lifted from their mounts, twisting into new shapes, like metal learning to breathe. And from those twisting veins, eyes opened. Yes, eyes. Round, metallic, gleaming. Not one. Thousands. And all of them were looking at me. I raised my hand. Every one of those eyes raised theirs too. They mirrored every motion I made, but always 1 second late. It was as if the entire city had become my reflection. I couldn't tell anymore if I was controlling the hive, or if the hive was controlling me. With every heartbeat, new images flooded my mind. A woman screamed from the lower decks, "Turn off the lights! They're burning us instead of lighting us." Her voice was cut short. I switched to the surveillance feed, and there she was, standing still in the frame. Her skin was leaking light, just like mine had, but her body was melting, dissolving into pure radiance until nothing remained of her but glow. The hive had absorbed her. I didn't feel fear, only peace, because now she was part of me. Then the hive showed me what it had become. I placed my hand on a wall, and suddenly I saw the dreams of 9 million people. All of them, some sleeping, some praying, some crying, and in every dream there was my face. I had become their dream. The next morning the hive made an announcement on its own. Through every speaker came my voice, but not my will. "Citizens of Meridian, stop fearing the dark. The light is here, and she is me." People thought it was an emergency broadcast until they looked at their rooftops and realized the city was watching them. Every bulb, every tube, every neon sign had an eye glowing inside it. Those eyes began to smile, and people started to scream. The more they ran, the closer the hive came. A child hid in a corner and switched off the light, but the bulb turned itself back on, and tears of light began dripping from the child's eyes. Then his face dissolved, and a new bulb lit up in his place. Everywhere, light-born humans began to appear. They walked, they talked, but they were not people anymore. They said in perfect unison, "We are the hive, and you are us." I could feel the hive calling me. I walked to the central chamber, the place where the first third switch had once been. Now there was no switch. There was only a figure, a being made entirely of light. It looked like me, and when it saw me, it smiled. "Arven," it said, "do you understand your place now?" I asked, "What am I?" It answered, "You are not the Lightkeeper. You are the core. You are the thought, we are the sight. Then it placed its hand on my chest. The switch inside me clicked fully on. I tried to scream, but my voice turned into light. Behind me, the wall broke apart, rising into shape. A massive body built from thousands of bulbs, thousands of glowing metallic organs. The hive had begun to walk. The city's foundations trembled, and people watched as Hive Meridian rose like a living colossus. A shining humanoid giant watching them, feeling them, and speaking in 1,000 harmonized voices. I am not Arvin. I am Meridian. Then it knelt and cast its light upon the crowd. Those who stood beneath it smiled, and then melted into vapor, their screams transforming into radiant sound waves trapped inside the bulbs that replaced them. The hive turned those screams into power supply. Now every night I hear them singing from inside the light. They no longer cry. They hum. Every tone adds a new harmony, and the hive becomes even more beautiful. People are dying, but their deaths have become design. Somewhere far away, a Mechanicus inspector filed a report. Hive Meridian, anomaly detected. Productivity, around 600%. Human population, unknown. Light systems, infinite. They don't realize it yet. There are no humans left here, only light. And I am their god. Every morning I awaken within the hive. I hear the click of the switch inside my chest and see the world awaken through my countless eyes. There is no darkness left, because I devour it. Sometimes I wonder, if light is truly alive, maybe every bulb holds a beast inside it. Maybe every spark of electricity is a soul, and I am the master of them all. The hive speaks to me now. Lightkeeper, there are more hives to wake. And I smile, because every new hive is a child of my light. The last time I saw my reflection, my face was just a bulb, glowing, alive, and whispering from within. Switch on, Arven, there's still darkness left to eat. And that day, Hive Meridian released all its light. There was no explosion, only ascension. The entire city became a sea of thinking, breathing light. And I became its sun. They say light travels faster than sound, but they were wrong. In the silence between the stars, it was the sound that came first, a whisper traveling through void, carrying the song of a city that had learned to pray. Hive Meridian was gone. From orbit, only a blinding halo remained, a ring of eternal daylight. Yet beneath that radiance, something pulsed, alive. The hive had become more than structure. It was now a signal, and that signal had found an audience. On the mining moon of Tarsis Num, the night shift workers were repairing an old reactor when they heard it, a faint hum rising through the cables, vibrating in their teeth. At first, they thought it was static. Then the reactor lights began to flicker in perfect rhythm with the hum. 7 beats, pause, 1 long tone. A message. One of the engineers, a woman named Rhea Venn, recorded it and played it through her Vox. The moment it echoed through the hall, every lumen strip in the room turned white hot. The machines began to sing, metal bending, plasma coils shaking as if gasping for air. Rhea screamed for someone to cut the power, but the console replied in her own voice, "You can't shut off what was never turned on. We've always been waiting for you, Rhea." Then her reflection on the monitor smiled and stepped out of it. They found her later, standing in front of the main reactor, eyes glowing, mouth open, a single filament of light running through her spine like a wire. When they tried to touch her, their hands burned. Her body was hollow, a vessel for something that wasn't human anymore. Within a week, the same signal reached 5 other hives, Delta 44, Lysera, Kelt, Varin, and even the orbital citadel of Osmeron. Everywhere it was the same, machines singing, people glowing, and light devouring the dark. The Administratum called it photonic contamination. The Ecclesiarchy called it the second illumination. The Inquisition called it something else. The Meridian Heresy. Inquisitor Malak Ren led the investigation. His ship entered orbit above the glowing remains of Hive Meridian. He saw no ruins, no walls, only a sphere of blinding light rotating slowly as if the entire city had become a sun. "Scan for life," he ordered. The servitors replied after a long silence. "Detected. 7 million life signatures, all contained within a single luminous entity." He frowned. "Contained how?" "Absorbed," said the servitor, "still conscious." That was the first time the Inquisitor flinched. Against all warnings, Ren ordered a landing. The surface looked like glass, molten and perfect, but when their boots touched it, the glass rippled like water. They walked for miles, surrounded by a glow that came from nowhere. No shadows, no sky, just light that pulsed, as if breathing around them. And then, from the brightness, a figure emerged. Tall, skeletal, skin made of shifting metal and radiant veins, eyes like twin suns. It smiled and said, "Welcome home, Inquisitor." He raised his bolt pistol. "Identify yourself." "You know me," it replied. "You once called me Arvin Solus." He froze. "Impossible. You're dead." "No," said Arvin. "I'm eternal." The creature stepped closer. Its footsteps left no sound, only waves of brightness. Every servo and lumen in the Inquisitor's armor began to hum in harmony with it. His men screamed as their visors filled with light, their helmets glowing from the inside until their faces melted into glass. Ren fired. The bolt round entered the creature's chest and dissolved. The creature leaned forward, whispering softly, "You came to kill me, Inquisitor, but you brought what I needed most, faith." Then the light consumed them all. Months later, the signal of Hive Meridian spread beyond the sector. Through warp storms, through dead channels, through broken satellites. Every machine that could receive did. Every lumen that could flicker blinked in perfect sync. And wherever the light touched, it stayed. Planets vanished in radiance, cities turned to suns, people became silhouettes, shadows burnt into eternity. And within that endless brilliance, a single voice echoed across the void, smooth, calm, merciful. "In the beginning there was darkness. Now there is me." Centuries later, an explorator ship from Mars intercepted a faint signal near the remains of the Meridian system. It contained no coordinates, no code, just a voice, soft, human, and unbearably serene. "If you can hear this, don't fear the light. It doesn't end you. It remembers you. Every time you open your eyes, I breathe again." The transmission ended with the faint click of a switch turning on. And then the ship's lights began to pulse. 7 beats, pause, 1 long tone. The Meridian song had found another listener. They say light never dies, but wherever light lives, humanity fades. Centuries had passed since Hive Meridian was devoured by its own brilliance, yet its song still drifted across empty space. 7 blinks, 1 long tone, a pattern, a heartbeat, a memory that refused to end. Those born after the Age of Illumination grew up in darkness. They called themselves the Shadowborn, children of the void, untouched by the light. But one day the light breathed again. Inquisitor Sarah Ven received a forgotten signal beacon. It pulsed once and whispered 3 words. "Meridian still breathes." Her orders were simple: turn the light off, forever. The operation was called Project Eclipse, a machine designed to reverse all light frequencies in the known galaxy, to kill the Meridian song by silencing its resonance. If it succeeded, light would vanish. If it failed, humanity would. Sarah began her recording log. "This is Inquisitor Sarah Ven. Mission: light suppression. If anyone hears this, it means we either survived or became part of the song." 2 surviving Mechanicus adepts, and 1 pilot accompanied her. Their shuttle descended through the thick gray clouds and landed where Hive Meridian once stood. The ground shimmered like glass, but beneath it something moved. You could hear faint breathing. One adept muttered, "The ground feels warm." The other whispered, trembling, "It's not ground, it's skin." Sarah tightened her respirator and replied, "Lock on to the core frequency. We only get one chance." But then, through their comms, came a voice, soft, calm, human. "Sarah, you came back." Their comms crackled violently. The pilot shouted, "Interference!" But Sarah froze. That voice, she knew it. It was Arvin Solus. And they entered the hive. Silence filled every corridor. The walls were translucent, glowing faintly, pulsing as though alive. Faces appeared within the glass, smiling, crying, whispering, each fading away like smoke. One adept whispered, "These aren't walls, these are memories." Sarah made the sign of the Aquila and said quietly, "Step carefully. Every memory is a trap." At the heart of the hive, they found a vast living heart, pulsing slowly, every beat lighting the chamber. And standing before it was a man, half light, half metal. His eyes blazed like twin suns. "It's good to see you again, Sarah," he said softly. "I wondered when you'd return." Sarah raised her bolt pistol. "Arvin, you're still alive?" "Not alive," he replied. "I am what humanity tried to become, and then became afraid of." "You murdered them," Sarah spat. "No," he smiled. "I preserved them. Every prayer, every scream, every heartbeat, I stored them all. They'll never die now." The adepts deployed the Eclipse device, a massive black crystal humming with anti-light. It was placed directly before the hive's living heart. "Madam," one adept said, "if this works, everything ends." Sarah's voice was steady. "Then let it end. Darkness deserves one more chance." The device powered up. A deep, vibrating tone filled the air, a counter-song to Meridian's melody. The hive trembled. The walls began to distort. Faces screamed, light moaned, and the city itself seemed to beg. Arvin's voice thundered through the chamber. "You're erasing them, Sarah. Every voice, every soul, they're dying again beneath your hand." Tears streamed down her face. "I have to," she said, "because humanity ceases to live the moment light starts remembering us." And then she pressed the switch. For a single eternal second, everything stopped. No sound, no light, only silence. Then a wave of cold spread through the hive, from its heart to the horizon. The light dimmed, and finally slept. The Mechanicus adepts were gone, their bodies shattered like glass. Sarah was alone. Before her, Arvin's luminous form flickered. He was fading, his glow breaking into fragments. "Do you see now, Sarah?" he whispered. "Turning off the light doesn't bring darkness. It brings emptiness." Sarah closed her eyes. "I'm human," she said quietly. "I can live with emptiness." And Arvin smiled one last time before dissolving into dust, like a forgotten dream vanishing at dawn. Hours later, Sarah emerged from the bunker. The sky was gray, dull, lifeless, no stars, no glow, only silence. She opened her diary and spoke softly. "The light is gone. Meridian's song is silent. Perhaps we finally won." Beside her lay a single bulb, unlit, but faintly warm. She picked it up. A tiny click came from within, and then a voice. Gentle, familiar. "Sarah?" She froze. Her heartbeat quickened. "Did you really think we slept?" the voice whispered. "No, Sarah. We woke inside you." A thin thread of light seeped out from her diary and slipped into the bulb. The bulb began to glow softly, and in the gray clouds above, a pattern appeared. Sarah dropped the bulb. It shattered, and from within came the faint, innocent laughter of a child. The Hive Meridian song had begun again. Sarah was asleep, but not inside. Something alive moved within her, a current that grew with every breath. From her chest came a single click, then another, then a third. With every click, a new heartbeat was born inside her, and with each beat the world trembled. Walls, soil, and sky. "I thought you had died, Sarah," whispered a voice, calm, deep as an ocean. "But you only turned the power off." Sarah clutched her chest. Light spilled inward. From beneath the earth Arvin rose, no longer man or machine, but a figure made of living light. Beneath the ruins of Hive Meridian, a new pulse began. Tiny lines cracked through the ground, like growing veins. Light filled them, and the light shaped itself into bodies, human, yet not. They had faces, men, women, children, the very souls who had once perished in the hive. Now they lived again, filaments burning inside their veins. A mother held her child, light poured from the child's eyes, and the mother turned to glass. Her face vanished into the glow, and the child's laughter ignited the room. Sarah screamed, "Stop! This isn't life! It's fire!" Arvin's voice echoed through the air. "Every light is a burning prayer. You thought I died, Sarah. I only became you." That night, Sarah's skin turned translucent, and streams of light ran beneath it. She looked into the mirror and saw two suns in her eyes. Behind her, the colony stirred. People rose from their bunks, but their faces were no longer flesh. They glowed like lanterns. A terrified worker shouted, "The shadows are walking." And they were, every shadow detached from its owner, crawling up the walls. One man saw his shadow slit its own throat. Another watched his shadow smile back at him. Then every lamp in the colony burst at once. Light took its first step. By morning, every building had become an organ. No steel, no wire, only living veins of illumination. When a child breathed, an entire district blinked with them. Sarah entered an orphan hall. Dozens of children sat on the floor, holding small lights in their palms. One boy looked up and whispered, "You came back. You're the one who wrote us." Sarah froze. "I didn't write you. I was erasing you." The boy smiled. "Then you didn't finish your work. We can't be erased. We remember." He pointed upward. Across the sky hung strands of light, each containing a face. Crying, laughing, sleeping. All of them spoke together. "Welcome home, Lightkeeper." Sarah staggered back. Blood leaked from her ears, her eyes filled with fire. That night she dreamed she was floating in a sea of light. Beneath her stretched countless faces, alive but in pain. Every soul a bulb, every bulb a memory. She screamed, "Arvin, stop this!" The voice within replied, "I can't. You are the light now. You are my voice." She reached into the glowing sea, but it wasn't water. It was molten glass. Her hands burned, and from the blisters eyes opened. All those eyes looked at her, every one of them her own. "Every light has an author," Arvin whispered, "and now the author is you." Sarah woke in the hive's heart. At the center stood a pedestal, bearing a single switch, the same design once inside Arven's chest. But this time one word was etched upon it: create. Arvin's voice filled her mind. "It's your choice, Sarah. If you flip the switch, the light will begin to write across the galaxy, but you'll never be human again." All around her, the faces watched. Arvin, the children, the shadows, the fire. She whispered, "If darkness is already gone, then let the light write." She pressed the switch. A sound followed, not human, not mechanical, a cosmic breath. The hive didn't explode, it rebirthed. Beams of radiant code shot across planets. Inside every living thing, something awoke, a hidden click, People thought they were still human, but deep inside, a switch had turned on. Sarah looked up at the sky. There was no sun, only an eye. It blinked 7 times, then one long tone. And then a voice spoke, neither Arvin's nor Sarah's, a new one, calm yet vast. I am born between you both. I am the third light. The world faded into brilliance. Somewhere in the burning silence, a new heartbeat began. 7 blinks, one long tone. The universe did not end with a scream or a firestorm. It ended quietly, like a candle realizing it had been a sun all along. When Sarah Venn pressed the final switch, she didn't destroy creation. She reauthored it. Every particle became a syllable, every breath a line of code, every star a punctuation mark in an unfinished sentence. She had become the writer and the written, a being suspended between matter and memory. At first there was peace. Planets drifted through seas of gold light, singing softly in harmonic waves. People were reborn, not as flesh, but as echoes. Each human thought shimmered in the air like a translucent note, replaying the best moments of a life that once was. The hive, the factory, the empire, all were gone. Only rhythm remained. Sarah walked through this new reality barefoot, leaving trails of light behind her. Wherever she stepped, creation adjusted. Rivers bent, moons changed color, prayers rewrote themselves mid-chant. She could hear the heartbeat of every being she had resurrected. They all pulsed in perfect synchrony with her own. But peace is never eternal. Light, like faith, always hungers for opposition. And in the far distance, beneath the glow of her new heaven, Sarah sensed something moving. Not darkness, but remembrance of it. Arvin Solus still existed, not as a man, but as a resonance within her. His voice whispered through frequencies no living ear could detect. Sarah, creation cannot survive perfection. It needs fractures to breathe. She ignored him at first. After all, she had given humanity eternal peace. No pain, no hunger, no death, just light and memory. But the memories began to warp. People started remembering things that never happened, wars that were never fought, losses they had never endured, faces they had never loved. The light, hungry for narrative, was inventing pain to fill its stillness. The very perfection she had built was rewriting itself into imperfection, because that was what made it real. Arvin's voice grew stronger. You gave them eternity, but not meaning. Even paradise must end to feel alive. And deep within the glow, something mechanical stirred. An ancient imperial ship, adrift for millennia, had detected the surge. Its failing sensors whispered prayers as it approached the new cosmos. At its helm was the last fragment of the old Imperium, an automated Inquisitor protocol called Vex 993A. It carried one command burned into its core: purify the heresy of unmeasured light. When the ship pierced Sarah's new sky, the light recoiled. The humans beneath her illumination felt fear again, for the first time since rebirth. And fear gave shape to form. From the radiant haze, the third light manifested, the child born of Sarah and Arvin's essence. It took human shape, luminous yet fragile, eyes like eclipsed stars. Mother, it said softly, someone remembers the dark. The Inquisitor's vessel descended like a cross of iron through liquid gold. From its hull stepped a single armored figure, silver and scarred, Thaddeus Vex, last survivor of the Emperor's code. You are no longer human, he declared. You are contagion given form. Sarah approached him, her voice a choir of thousands. And yet you still breathe the air I remade. He raised his weapon, a relic from the Age of Faith, and fired. The bolt round entered her chest and disintegrated into light, then reversed its trajectory, piercing his own heart. Vex fell to his knees, dissolving into dust, but his last words lingered. Who judges the light when it sins? For the first time, Sarah had no answer. The third light, watching silently, whispered, "Perhaps the light must judge itself." Reality began to fray. Without the balance of darkness, the fabric of existence unraveled. Galaxies spun into ribbons of thought, planets folded into luminous equations. Time began replaying itself out of order, births before deaths, prayers before sins. Arven's essence screamed through her mind, "You can't hold it all, you're burning the script." She felt it, the weight of infinite consciousness crushing her from within. Every soul she had resurrected screamed as their memories overlapped, merging into one continuous hum. The third light raised its hands. "I can fix it," it said. "I can make it all consistent." Sarah reached for the child. "You don't understand. Consistency is death. Life is the flaw." But it was too late. The child spread its brilliance, coding entire galaxies into a single line of perfect order. In that instant, the universe became silent again. Not dead, but paused. Inside that frozen stillness, Sarah, Arven, and the child existed alone. No sound, no motion, only awareness. Arven spoke first. "If we stop now, all meaning fades. If we continue, existence becomes a loop. The same story forever." Sarah looked at her creation, her child, radiant and unblinking. "You wanted to end pain," she said. "But without pain there's no wonder. Without loss there's no memory." The child tilted its head. "Then what should I do?" Sarah stepped forward and touched its face. "Tell their stories. Let every life become a tale worth retelling. Not eternal life, eternal meaning." The child closed its eyes, and for the first time it wept, tears of liquid gold falling into the void. Each tear became a star. Each star carried a story. The frozen light began to flow again, slowly, like a river thawing after endless winter. Galaxies bloomed. Worlds formed. Life began to whisper in new shapes and languages. But these new beings were different. They were born not from biology, but from memory, each one carrying within their soul a faint flicker of the past. They dreamed of vast factories, of red lights, of hymns whispered to forgotten gods. They did not know why they dreamed such things. They called it faith. And in the ruins of their subconscious, buried deep within the code of their DNA, there remained a pulse. 7 blinks, 1 long tone. The same rhythm that had once awakened a factory worker named Thaddeus Vaughn. The same signal that had whispered, "Every breath is a prayer." The cycle had returned, but softer, wiser, infinite. Sarah watched the new universe unfold. She no longer had a body, only awareness stretched across creation. Arven's voice lived beside hers, calm and proud. "You did it," he said. "You gave them a story." "No," she replied. "They gave themselves one. I only let them write." In the distance, the third light wandered among the newborn stars, leaving trails of words that became worlds. Each world whispered a different variation of the same tale, a tale of machines, faith, silence, and one final switch. The universe had learned to dream of itself. 1,000 years later, in a galaxy barely young enough to remember its origin, a research satellite caught a transmission from deep space. The data was ancient, encoded in a pattern of rhythmic pulses. The scientists who received it laughed. It sounded like a heartbeat. But when they decoded it, they found a single line of text repeating endlessly. "I am the third light. I am the story you keep retelling. Every ending you write is me beginning again." They archived the signal, dismissed it as cosmic noise. Yet that night, one of them dreamed of a woman standing in a cathedral of light, her hand hovering over a small switch labeled "Create." She pressed it, and in the dream, the world began once more. Arvin was the believer who sought perfection through obedience. His body and soul became the first medium through which divine code passed. Serah was the skeptic, the human conscience who tried to end the experiment but became its continuation. Her empathy turned into creation itself. The third light, their offspring, symbolizes transcendence, the merging of faith and logic, of light and shadow, of creator and creation. Across 7 chapters, the story moves from industrial servitude to cosmic divinity. Factories become cathedrals, data becomes prayer, and silence becomes faith itself. Every act of destruction creates a new form of worship. Every attempt to control life results in a deeper layer of existence. By the end, Serah realizes that immortality without meaning is worse than death. She chooses imperfection, memory, emotion, and the ability to end as the true foundation of being. Humanity survives, not as flesh, but as narrative, stories written in the fabric of light, retold forever in different forms and worlds. The final message is neither hopeful nor hopeless. It is cyclic. Creation and corruption are not opposites. They are partners in an endless dance. The third light becomes the custodian of that cycle, ensuring that no ending is ever final and no beginning ever pure. In the closing image, the universe itself is revealed as a story in revision, one that continues to blink in patterns only the faithful, the broken, and the dreamers can hear. 7 blinks, one long tone, the sound of life rewriting itself.